Yo, this hot, this the spot, there it is, pod.com. We're interviewing the best comedians, so tune in quick and get your ears receiving them. We talking about life and life to stream right to you, from the microphone right to your home, dude. Side note, this might get embarrassing, but no, don't sweat, yo, cause there it is.
Welcome to the There It Is podcast, a comedy podcast to help you find your inspiration. I'm your host, Jason Farr. Let's do this. Thank you so much for being here. And I also want to say thank you to a couple of new friends of the podcast and newsletter. We got a contribution from friend of the show, Stacy. She donated to the cause to fight theiritis. Thank you, Stacy. Also, thank you to new Patreon patron, Amy, from the Hunger Games Minute. Thank you for fighting theiritis. If you like the podcast and or newsletter, you too can support us. Just go to thereitispod.com and click the support tab. There are a couple of options there for you to support us, and we greatly appreciate that. Today's guest is super funny, and I miss her here in New York City. I had heard so much about her before actually getting to meet her because previous guest, the lovable Molly Kiernan, is good friends with her. And so I just kept seeing stuff on social media. And when I finally saw Meredith, I thought she was super funny, just stellar, really great. And I'm glad that we had this chat. Full disclosure, we spoke before even George Floyd's death and before the protests. So when we say things like all of the things going on, we're just talking about COVID-related stuff. So just want you to know that before you jump in. All right, without further ado, here's my chat with Meredith Paul. I had heard about you just on social media a bunch, like just people always saying like, oh, here's a show I'm doing with Meredith Paul, or like, here's a show I did with Meredith Paul a long time ago. And then I finally saw you do a show and was like, oh, she's hilarious. And I told you that when we met. And,
yeah, you did.
Yeah. And then you moved. And then you left us not too long after that. So no fun for us here in New York that you're not performing here. But I assume good for you that you're closer to your pals. Like Molly.
Yeah. Love being near my pals. Love being out in LA. It's definitely warmer.
Mm-hmm.
LA is fun. There's a lot of cool stuff happening out here. So I'm definitely having a blast.
That's good.
Or was having a blast
before everything went crazy. Yeah.
Stuff happened, yeah.
Are you from upstate New York? Where exactly are you from?
I'm from Long Island, which is,
okay,
as you know, close to New York City.
Mm-hmm.
Where I grew up. I grew up on the South Shore, and then when I was in 5th grade, I moved to the North Shore. So huge cultural shift there.
For sure. Yeah, I've been
South
to
Shore is like
Babylon.
Yeah, Babylon's on the South Shore in Suffolk County, which is my county.
Okay.
It's actually not far from where I grew up in Patchogue.
Okay, and it was nice to go out there. It took forever, but it was nice.
Yeah.
It was nice. We enjoyed it.
What were you out there for?
We were out, it was for a play. A friend was in a play, and I hadn't seen her when she had performed before in the area. And so I was like, well, I'll take this opportunity, not realizing how far out it was. But it was nice to go out, get out of the city and go.
Do you know what theater it was?
Oh, I don't remember offhand, actually.
Do you know if it was at the Gateway?
I don't know, actually. That doesn't sound familiar.
That's a big community theater that I grew up near. And that's
okay. Did you
acting classes?
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. Like, were you studying acting early on? Like, how did you get into performing?
Yeah, so I grew up in Patchogue, near the Gateway Playhouse, which is a big community theater. And I think it's like summer stock sort of, but not as like highbrow as I feel like that sounds. They get a lot of like Broadway people. And I started out taking acting classes there, just like kiddie acting stuff. I think we did like Annie, Pepper for Life. And I just always loved acting and like plays and everything. And when I was in high school, I always did our evening of comedy, which was we would just like take SNL sketches and perform them. We didn't like rewrite them or like write our own sketches. We would just straight up act out SNL sketches. And my favorite story from that is like, do you know the sketch The Bears?
Yeah.
That had to be cut from the show because we couldn't get through it because like the guys performing it thought it was too funny. They were like laughing so hard at The Bears that it had to be cut.
That's so funny. And so high school, right? You know, like guys laughing too hard at themselves.
I remember the director was like a real hard ass and he's like, if you guys can't get through The Bears, it's going to be cut from the show. And then it was.
That's hysterical. So you've been performing and doing in comedy since high school.
Yeah, and then in college I did sketch as well at Tufts for my first semester, but then I actually became obsessed with my sorority. I was vice president of my sorority.
What sorority?
And then I was in Chi Omega.
Oh, Chi Omegas. I loved Chi Omegas at my school. They were like chill and fun to hang out with.
What college did you go to?
I went to Winthrop University in Rock Hill, South Carolina, and the Chi Omegas were just like chill, cool, like you could hang with them and there'd be like, I don't know, it was just always easy to hang out with them.
I feel like our reputation at Tufts was being like insane party girls that were like very uptight, but also like insane and like drunken nightmares.
Oh, okay.
Well, I felt like I was proud to uphold that. I felt like I represented that to a T. Yeah, so I kind of got sidetracked from comedy during college because I was obsessed with my sorority.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I guess I could sort of see. I mean, I didn't previously think you were in a sorority, but you telling me that doesn't blow my mind either.
Yeah, I get that a lot, and I don't disagree.
You see.
I mean, and it's also true.
Yeah. Like I'm now connecting dots, hearing you say that you're in a sorority and these pictures I've seen on Instagram. Like, okay, she's a.
Yeah, I mean, I can't help it. You can take the girl out of the sorority, but it doesn't really leave you. Unfortunately. I mean, there's like a lot of bad stuff about it, but at its core, like I really do love like being with a bunch of women, and like female friendships are like really essential to my life to this day, and that's like really foundational to who I am.
Yeah, you hate men. I get it. No, I'm kidding.
I do hate men, so you don't have to care about that. Except for you.
Except for me. And then I guess I've seen. It seems like there's one guy that hangs out with you and Molly, and you guys goof around a lot.
Andy?
I think I've seen him in a commercial.
Oh yeah, he like is in every commercial.
Yeah, I saw because I only know him through your and Molly's Instagram. I'm like, who is this guy? And then one day randomly, I was watching something online, like a Best Buy ad maybe, and someone was in it. I was like, that looks like that guy that I have no idea who he is, but he seems talented and funny. I just don't know him, and then he was just in some commercial. So I guess I assume you don't hate him.
He's a very talented comedian. No, I don't hate him at all. I think he's very talented, and he's in a lot of very funny commercials.
Well, good. So you graduate from college, and you end up in New York, and where do you start? Like comedy comes back in your life at some point. Was it when you...
Actually, I graduated and moved to San Francisco.
Really?
And then and San Francisco has, as you probably know, a big stand-up scene. That's where like a lot of people come out of there, like Ali Wong and like Robin Williams. And I actually I had a job in tech there, and I was really I hated it. I was not like fitting in with like that scene of like those kids in that life at all. And I started doing I was like, I remembered that I loved doing comedy, so I started doing stand-up at night, and I was like, I just like loved it so much. And then I was like, my family was in New York, and I actually was still dating my college boyfriend who was in New York.
Mm-hmm.
So then I moved back to New York, and I started taking class at UCB, and then I just really dove back in like full force when I moved back.
Okay, how long were you gone in San Francisco?
2 years. Probably.
Oh, wow.
A year and a half.
Wow, you had a stretch there. I didn't realize you did stand-up at all, because everything I've seen was improv or sketch or character-based, it seems.
Yeah, I don't really do it anymore. I always think that I'm going to get back into it, but I don't know. I don't really do it anymore. I don't know why.
Yeah, I mean, it's
I never
good.
really thought about it.
It's a good thing to do to learn how to be concise and to write jokes. But, you could still be a comedian and not do stand-up, much to many people, mostly stand-ups, belief. But much against
I just feel like there's so much that we have to do that I never have time to do it all.
No, that's for
but
sure.
I would love to get back into it one day.
Yeah, I mean, it's not something I hate and I never want to do again. It's just I don't enjoy doing it in New York. And I don't know, want to do other things, I guess, right now. But I always have, my notes in my iPhone that I can throw some stuff in there. And I definitely want to, hone jokes again and get to that. Did you, in your stand-up, what was your approach? Do you think you found your voice when you did stand-up? Or did that come later?
Well, no. I feel like it took way longer to find my voice. I feel like I'm still finding my voice. But
yeah, me too.
When I did stand-up, I was just, on stage, screaming. And I still am on stage screaming. That's, the only thing I ever do. But I was not in control of what I was doing at all, and still not. But certainly wasn't then. But I definitely was I really like this, and I wanted to figure out a way to do it more and be more in control. So
yeah.
In terms of, I don't know.
What is your brand of comedy? Like when you sit down to write a sketch or a character piece, what would you say is your voice?
I like things that are really weird. My favorite shows are just really strange. I like Joe Pera. I like Tim Robinson. I like Connor O'Malley. Those are just the kind of things. Or Three Busy Debras. I like things that are a little gonzo. That's my sensibility. So when I try to write, I aim for that ballpark.
Yeah.
I don't always obviously get there. Usually I'm just making no sense.
Were you someone in school, when you were coming up, were people saying you were funny? Or were you always goofing around, or was that a part of your life?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely was always the weirdest person in my class. I never was a cool kid. I was always in trouble for having ADD and being crazy and breaking stuff and yelling. I always had friends, but I had so much energy. I was a wild woman.
Mm-hmm.
So people thought I was funny, but not in the way that I was a class clown. They thought I was just a freaking kook-a-look, which I was.
When you are putting something together now, what's your process that you go through? The reason I ask is that there does seem to be a lot of spontaneity in your spirit on stage, and I wonder if that is how you write.
Definitely. I write a lot with other people, and I think if they're big planners, it can be either really good or really bad because the way I write, I find stuff as I go.
Uh-huh.
So either if I write with other people who like to plan, it can be hard to I don't like to write that way. Right. I have a general idea of where I'm going and what the story will be, but I like to get surprised as I write. Is that how you write?
I feel like I should be more organized than I am, but when I've written stuff, like I'll have an idea and I'll sit down and I'll like try to knock it out, or like at least just get the full thought out. And then like you were saying, like I'll kind of have an idea of where it should go. And then like other stuff comes to me. Like I feel like I can have an idea and that idea will really spark an interest in sitting down to write. And I'll really want to get that out and have high hopes of it being used somewhere. But then I'll write other things after that, like a couple more things, whether it's jokes or a couple of extra sketches. And I'll end up liking that last thing I wrote the most.
Right.
And almost forgetting about the thing that I was so excited to sit down to write at first.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't even know where that last
like,
thing came from. It's just...
That's when your mind is like the most open.
Mm-hmm.
I used to have an improv teacher that would be like, when you were doing something funny, he would be like, just keep screaming like the things like in the list. Like he would just be like, keep going. And then the last thing you would say would always be like the funniest thing because your mind was just like opening.
Mm-hmm.
I really believe in that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different approaches, and like, I haven't read all the books about them, and I've gotten some recent books that talk about it, but I wonder, you know, like, if there's a particular MO that I fall under. I'm kind of interested, and I should read these books. Like, someone just gave us a book. I forget the name of it offhand, but he was like raving about the book to us, and so he sent it to us. But then there's also like The War of Art and stuff like that. Like, I just wonder if I were to read those, if I would sort of discover what my creativity type is. For you, when you come here, you start taking classes at UCB. Was it just like, I want to do comedy, or were you like, I want to get into sketch ultimately? Like, what was your goal?
I didn't really have a goal. I loved improv at first, and I really was obsessed with improv. Yeah. I love improv. I still love improv, but, I'm not really cut out for improv because I have really bad anxiety, and it's just not a good fit for me. It's not the best way for me to it's not the best way for me to express myself get my thoughts out because I get really in my head, and it makes me like very, very uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. It makes me like almost like go into like really bad mental space. I can't explain it.
No, I get
and it took me like a really, really long time to figure that out. And like a lot of people talk about that and like how they get over that and stuff. So for a long time I tried to push past it, but ultimately I realized like it's not really worth it because it was making me so uncomfortable. So I, after that, started getting more into things I could control more. Like that's why I started doing characters, which I was so bad at. Not that I'm amazing at them now, but I can't even tell you how bad I was when I first started.
Why do you say that?
I just didn't ever do them. I just didn't know what I was doing. Not that I'm amazing and I know what I'm doing now, but boy, was I bad.
I kind of know what you mean because I was asked to do a character piece, and I just did it because I wanted to be involved, and I liked the person that asked me. But I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm surrounded by people who know character work and know what they're doing with character stuff, and I was like, I'm gonna look like an idiot, but I'm gonna think of something and do it. And it went over fine, but I just was sort of like, I had to get to a place where I said, you know what? I like it. It's funny to me. I cannot be concerned with how I'm going to come across or if anyone else is going to even get it. I just have to do it. And that's kind of where I had to get. That's the one time.
That's really impressive. And you obviously are a very brave and, confident person. That's great. I'm sure it was great.
Oh, wow. I don't feel...
It's a very specific medium that you have no way, like sketch, you've probably seen in your life, like growing up, you probably watch SNL.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have some way to relate to sketch through just like pop culture or whatever. Improv, you can relate to it because it's sort of like sketch, but it's like being created in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But like characters, it's like so, it's such a closed loop. Like you really have to kind of like learn that specific skill set. So when you're going into it, it's like, I mean, it is sketch, but it's also like, it's the
different.
exposition of it is so different.
It's so different. Yeah. It's just like, it's weird to even, I don't even think I could explain it well. Like, it's not like stand up. It's not as easy to just say it's a sketch with one person, because that doesn't really, that's not really what it is.
Yeah. I think if you're going, I just had a really hard time figuring it out, but I love it. I was so bad at it. When I think about it, I laugh so hard.
What do you think those sort of a structure, what do you think the structure is to make character work?
I mean, I really think like with anything, and I've been thinking about this a lot lately, like you really have to just like do the thing you want to do a million times and be bad at it for so long before you can be, you know, any level of competent, and not even good, just like competent. So, for structure, like doing repetition and just trying to figure out what works with an audience and and everybody's so different, and like what you think is funny is different than what I think is funny.
Right.
So like finding out how to get your ideas out is like so different than my ideas. Like, I think that's what's so hard, because like you can take a class and that's like helpful, but like only you know like what you think is funny. So like at the end of the day, like you have to figure out how to do that. Yeah. Yourself.
That's good insight. I think with what I did, I ended up. I think what I ended up writing, like I have yet to put it online, because I need to edit it. But I feel like it's basically going to be like, oh, this maybe just was a sketch and it was one person instead of the three that it needed. But you know, whatever.
Well, what was the premise?
It's a joke about there's a song in the 90s, an R&B song, when R&B songs were really, really about like doing it. It was like it's like comical how over the top. Yeah. This particular group was called, was it? No, it wasn't H-Town. No, maybe it wasn't. Anyway, they had a song called Knockin' the Boots. And then for a Christmas-themed collection, they were asked to do a song, and they did Knockin' the Boots as a Christmas song.
Boy. So
the sketch was like the absurdity of somebody pitching that. It's not entirely original. I mean, it's still just like...
I sound very original.
Well...
That sounds like a great character.
Well, thanks.
That sounds like a great character to me.
I just basically was speaking from the one guy in the band who's like, no, this is what we should do. And just kept,
I think that's so funny.
Yeah, I gave the tech a bad cue on the last song, and the last song that plays is supposed to be the actual Christmas song, and I didn't give him the right info to play the Christmas song. And so it ended up just being the like regular version of the song. So the joke wasn't as clear. And so I have to edit in the actual song to make it work. But
you should just film it. You can film it. That's the perfect thing.
Yeah.
Direct to cam, baby. Love that.
Yeah, I'll figure it out. I mean, I just need to overdub the song at the end.
Hell yeah, that sounds awesome. I can't wait to see it.
Now I have to.
Yeah. I'll text you every day, every 5 minutes until that shit's online.
Oh, God. You joke, but you would do that.
For a nightmare.
How long did you stay in New York City?
Like 7 years, 6 years.
Okay, that's a good stretch. And did you primarily study at UCB, or did you study at Pitt or Magnet at all?
No, I also did Stella Adler.
Oh,
because
cool.
I'm also an
'Cause
actor.
you're an actor, yeah.
But I also have shifted my career emphasis away from acting as well into directing and writing.
Ooh.
Although I still do acting here and there.
Mm-hmm. And you did some
doing, like,
shows
a lot of,
out there in LA.
I've done like some improv shows.
Or I saw something, again, Molly posting online. I just saw her posting you performing on stage, shortly after you moved.
I mean, I do improv shows, but I remember from my career perspective, I was doing more I would act in branded stuff and acting jobs in New York. But now I don't audition as much because I'm just not emphasizing my acting career as much anymore.
Oh, I see.
But I do I love improv, and I still do shows and I act and stuff. I'm just not pursuing that for my career as much as I was before. Mm-hmm. Which, I'm still open to those opportunities. I'm just not.
Of course,
I'm not auditioning five times a week like I used to. Oh, sorry, my dog's about to start freaking out because the UPS guy's here, her enemy.
Oh, oh, Luna.
She has two enemies: the UPS guy and the mailman.
I'll tell Luna I said hello.
Hello. She says hello back.
I never got to meet Luna.
When you come to LA, you can meet her then. I have no doubt you'll be out here soon.
Well, who knows? With all this, who knows what June holds?
Right.
How did you meet Molly? We've mentioned her a few times. How did you two meet? Was it through UCB?
Yeah, so I don't know if everybody that listens to your podcast knows who Molly is.
Well, she's been on before, previous guest.
Yeah. I actually told her I was doing this, and she said to say hello.
Oh, hey, Molly.
She is my best friend. Yes, she's an improviser, very funny writer. Mm-hmm. We met doing a ASP at UCB called The Concrete Jungle. Okay. Which was a improv class for people that were from New York or from the New York area. So I'm from Long Island and she's from Connecticut. Mm-hmm. So it was a form based on you would meet on the subway or meet in a New York, you meet at the museum or something, something that would happen in New York. And then you would do a montage based on that source scene. Okay. And that was 2 or 3 years ago. And then we were just we literally became best friends. And then we have been inseparable ever since then.
Oh, yeah. You would think you two had known each other your whole lives. Because, I mean, you share mannerisms. Very, very similar people. Yeah. Yes. Because certain things you're saying, I'm like, oh, she kind of sounds like Molly. Just the way you talk. We miss Molly.
Oh, yeah.
So you two started performing and doing shows together. You've put on some other shows here. Didn't you have a regular show that you were co-hosting here?
Yeah, I had a running show at the Magnet called Fly Girls, which was a all-female sketch variety show. Yes. And which Megan Gray was nice enough to let us put on, who was a GOAT, greatest of all time.
Oh, for sure.
AD of the Magnet, love her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw a lot of that online, and it's awesome that you got to do that.
That's now in the works to become a public access show in New York. We're in the process of editing it.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. I didn't know that. So talk about that process, how it became a show, or what the idea or approach behind the show was, and then how do you make it into a different medium? How do you turn it into a different medium?
When I first started doing characters, Nani Mendez, who I don't know if you know her.
Yeah, I do.
She's a mod actor and was on Characters Welcome in New York. Asked me and a bunch of other ladies, including Lita Darmian, who's also a mod actor in New York, to be on a reckless show where you would do a bunch of characters and then ultimately it was like a competition, and like whoever did the best characters would win. And our team lost, but we had such a fun time working together that we were like, me, Lita, and Nani were like, we should do a show together. And we, there's not enough women doing, written stuff in New York, so let's make a show where it's like only written stuff, so like sketch, character, stand-up at Reckless. And then we put together Fly Girls, and then when Reckless went down, Magnet saved us because we love Magnet, and gave us a home. And then we started doing these sketch fests where we would have women submit sketches, and then we would like mount them as a sketch show. And then from the sketch fest, this guy approached us from M&N and was like, we should make this into a public access show. And a whole bunch of stuff ensued. And we basically ended up having a show that E.A. Moss produced, directed by Georgie Aldico.
Mm-hmm.
And it's written by like a bunch of like really awesome women, and acted by a bunch of really awesome women. And it's all sketches, and it's very cool, and I think it's going to be awesome.
That's great. Congratulations.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. Thank you.
Yeah, sort of buried the lead there. I didn't know that was in the works. I accidentally
we were working on it for a very long time, so
yeah.
It's going to be very fun.
What are you looking to get into now? Like, I know you mentioned directing and writing. What sort of direction are you trying to go with that? Is it online sketches or short films? Like, what are you thinking? I don't mean it the way that sounds.
Yeah,
like, what are you thinking that you're going to do? I didn't mean it that way, but.
No, I didn't take it that way. My job for the past, like, how long I've been working at my job has been writing and directing branded content. Mm-hmm. So I've made like a bunch of ads for like Coke and what else? GameStop.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me?
GameStop. Yes. No, I said I love Coke. And GameStop's cool. That's cool that you got to work.
I drink so much Coca-Cola. I got so much Coke from the shoot that I was like drinking it for like, and I love Coke, and I only ever let myself have Diet Coke, and I really got on a bad spree after that. I was like drinking regular Coke like all day long. Yeah. So I love directing, and I love writing. So I want to, direct something like a commercial or an episode of television. And I would also ideally eventually like to get on staff for a television show as a writer. Those are all things that I would like to accomplish at some point in the future.
Cool. And is the plan to stay out in LA? I mean, I guess it makes sense for your pursuits.
Yeah, that's definitely my home now.
Yeah. Well, New York City misses you.
Thank you. I miss it, sort of. I miss you, but I don't really miss the city.
Yeah, I mean... Gotta
be honest on that one.
The weather's better out there, and, you can just drive your car. You don't have to take the subway. Like, there's certain things that are definitely... if you leave here, you're not going to miss. And there's such big parts of being here.
The lifestyle stuff is definitely a little better and easier in LA.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Some people, obviously there are people who don't jibe well with New York, and then also there are people who go out to LA and they're like, oh, I hate it here. and they leave and come back to New York or wherever. So it's good that it's I don't know how many people I've heard kind of like it, like both, and be able to stay here for years and there for years. But a lot of people do it, and in some cases begrudgingly. But it's good that you're able to fit in there.
Yeah, I grew up on Long Island. I grew up going into the city a lot on weekends. I never really was like a person that was like, I'm dying to move to New York City. I sort of just moved there because it was, the next thing that I did.
Yeah.
I never was like that happy living there from a lifestyle perspective. So I think I was really ready to get out of there. And I'm more of like a suburbs kind of like living. I like to like put my groceries in the trunk and then like, you know, have my sunglasses in the car and like drive around like listening to like Disney songs. Like I'm very like, I don't know. I'm like basically a mom with no kids.
I didn't know you loved Disney so much. Well, no, I kind of knew because I did know that because you've taken so many trips there, but I didn't think about you listening to the music so much.
Yes, I love Disney so much.
Oh my gosh!
I was listening to it all this morning. Love it.
What's your favorite Disney music? Like, I guess.
Oh, I can't pick it.
You can't pick
based
one.
On my mood. No. What's your favorite?
I don't listen enough to have a favorite. I've never disliked Disney, and I never tried to shy away from it at all. I can't think of any time where I was like, no, that's for kids. I was never like that about Disney. I enjoyed going to Disney World the times that I went and to Disneyland, and I think it's great. But for whatever strange reason, I never really saw much outside of Lion King or Aladdin.
I don't think it's strange. I think I'm the strange one, so I really wouldn't read too much.
I don't know. Honestly, it seems like everyone I know has seen every Disney movie, and I'm just like, well, okay, I've seen Aladdin.
Well, you got Disney Plus. You got Disney Plus and plenty of time. So this might be a good time to catch up.
It might be, yeah, because I feel like Little Mermaid is something I should see. I've seen only parts of it.
Yeah.
And I've not seen Mulan, and I've heard it's so good. I've made mistakes. Not seeing these things. I
wouldn't be too hard on yourself.
I did really like the music in Aladdin, so I guess I could say that's my favorite. But it feels like a cheap answer since I don't have a lot of exposure to the music.
Aladdin is a very good one.
It's classic. One thing that I want to learn from you is your stage presence. It's clear now why you have it. It's because of your acting background. But do you have a conscious approach to having presence on stage? And I know you were talking about having anxiety when you do improv. Is that something that is not there at all when you do scripted work? Or is it just there a little bit? Like, how is that for you? And how does your presence come through?
My anxiety affects my stage presence when I do improv, and it affects my ability to do the work. So that's why I try not to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But for scripted stuff, generally like I try to be as prepared as possible.
Mm-hmm.
I really, 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 really practice my lines a lot. And I memorize them as far in advance as possible.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's like such a nerd answer. But I really find that, like, as long as you can have them in your brain, it just makes you able to be, like, more creative because you just, like, your body gets, like, more comfortable with it. I just learned that from being on Boogie, Boogie Manja.
Yeah, that's a big sketch crew here.
Yeah, I was on Boogie Manja for, like, a year, and through that process, I learned, like, if I had the lines sort of partially memorized for the first rehearsal, I just would always have like such a better show.
Mm-hmm.
So I just had more time to like if I like had more rehearsals off book, I would just be like, you would find like more fun things. Like you just had more time to like play with it because you wouldn't be like holding the thing like reading the whole time.
Right.
I don't know. That's like a big part of it for me.
I totally agree. Yeah, that's I think what I like about like scripted stuff too, when you can really work with it and know it so well that you can't get it wrong, then you can have a little you can find so many more avenues, like you're saying, like you can have more fun with it. And you can also, I think it also helps you tap into, oh, wait a second, what if I try it this way? It's a whole new understanding now. But like if you're still just trying to know what the words are, you can't really get there.
Right. Yeah, because you're like you're focusing on like other things rather than being present in the moment, which sounds so like gross.
Yeah.
To say, but it's true.
It's totally true. Yeah, it is one of those things. It's like I don't like saying in the moment either, but like being, being present is sort of really necessary for good work, and the less you have a grasp on what's going on, the less present you can be. And I feel like there are a lot of shows that people can see, like live sketch shows, where it's more like, it seems like the entertainment value is how well these people memorized their lines, or just like got through the lines. Like, oh, you got them all out this time. Like, but that's not why we're watching shows. You know, we want to see the story that's trying to be told, and you cannot tell the story efficiently or well if you don't have the lines well.
Right. No, I completely agree with you. I couldn't agree with you more. Yeah, and for stage presence, like, I don't know. I guess, try to pretend like you're confident, even if you're not.
Yeah. I mean, that is such a common thing I've heard, too. It's just like, oh, well, you know, fake it till you make it.
Yeah. I feel like it's helpful for me to remember, like, even though you spend, like, the whole day and maybe the day before thinking about this moment, the people in the audience is, like, truly just one little part of their day that they don't even care about. So it's, like, not that big a deal.
Yeah.
That always helps me. Or also, actually, really helpful, especially if you have a lot of lines in a show. I always think about how, like, Broadway people have so many lines to remember. That helps me so much. I think about that all the time.
Like, in that, well, they memorize them, so I can memorize less.
Yeah, I think about, like, Mandy Patinkin doing, like, a one-man show, and I'm like, I can definitely do this, like, one stupid character monologue.
Yeah, you know what? That's a really good point. I've had that sort of thought, too, whenever there's something that I'm struggling with, especially in art. And it always comes back to this way I interpreted a lyric from All You Need Is Love, which was, there's nothing you can do that can't be done. The way I interpreted that is anything that...
I love that.
Yeah, I love it too. And like, whenever I thought like, okay, yes, this might be a hard thing to do, but people are doing it. So it's not something that can't be done. It can be done.
Right, it's possible.
So, yeah, it really sort of makes it less monumental to try to accomplish it. Because then you're like, well, people are doing it, so I can too. People are doing more difficult things, so can I.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. That's a really good way for you to approach it.
Yeah. I love that. I'll always think about that.
I feel like this is a good time to transition into the end of the episode where we create something together. So what's something we could create together? Like, could it be a character or like a character piece? Like how you come up with a character and present it on stage, or maybe a show.
I like the idea of doing a character.
Yeah. Okay, cool. When you're thinking of a character piece, like if you're asked to do a character, you know, maybe you're given a theme, maybe you're not. How do you start that process of coming up with a character from scratch?
I always start from like what I think probably most people do this, is what I find is funny. So like the last thing I wrote was like, I posted this on my Instagram, so maybe you saw it, but like I wrote a character that was like, or do you want me to do like a totally new one, or do you want me to explain?
No, you can talk about this. We could, because is this the character? Oh gosh, what I'm blanking on the specific reference that you made. You would be better at explaining this character.
I posted like a million things on my Instagram, so you're probably not knowing which exactly what I was going to reference. And also, this sketch was like 7 minutes long, so there's like 100 things going on in it. So anyway, I wrote a sketch about a woman. Everybody was talking about how they were like concerned about security hacks with Zoom. And like people were getting porn. They were like bombing Zoom with like porn. And I was like, I've been like really like lonely during quarantine, as like most people I think are. And I thought it was like funny that I thought it would be funny to see a person that was like lonely during quarantine and wanted company and like wanted somebody to bomb them because they wanted to like either talk to somebody or they wanted to like see porn. So I wrote.
I think I am thinking of a different thing you did.
Yeah, I've been posting like a lot of really weird things. So
there was something really funny you posted. Okay, we'll talk about this. This one.
Well, I wrote a sketch about a person that was like wanting to get porn Zoom bombed, basically.
Mm-hmm. The one I saw was the Jurassic Park one.
Oh, I didn't write that one.
Okay.
That was my friend wrote that.
Okay.
Georgie Aldico, who's an amazing writer. She's a very, very talented writer. But yeah, I always start from I would laugh. If I hear something that makes me laugh, I'm like, oh, maybe there's something in there that I would want to write.
Okay. That's great. I think that's a great idea for people to do. I'm trying to think if I ever could have thought of, this person's alone at home and heard about Zoom bombing and desperately wants somebody to Zoom bomb them.
What's the last thing that you heard of that made you laugh?
Oh gosh.
Can you think of something?
Well, this was something I thought was funny. A friend of mine was talking about. This might be a little controversial, but he was talking about how stupid he thinks the whole plandemic thing is, and he was saying it's totally bogus and ridiculous to give this any credence. And somebody said, "Oh, I don't think so." Said some disparaging things about him, and then said it makes you think. And he was like, "It does make you think. It makes me think that you're stupid." And that just tickled me because I'm like, it doesn't make you think. If somebody says something that is completely uncorroborated and then somebody lays out facts and says this is why this isn't true, it's not a good defense to be like, well, it makes you think. It's no, the only thing it makes you think is that, only thing it makes anyone think is that you're stupid, that you believe it even in the face of facts.
I love that. I think that's definitely a character. A person who, and I think you can make the specifics. I would probably not write a sketch about, it's not my sensibility or level of interest right now to write a sketch that's deeply specific about things that are happening with the coronavirus, just because I'm so tired of it.
Yeah,
I would probably make it about something else, I don't know, something really a weirder conspiracy theory that's I don't know, people are living in our walls, something very insane. And then have another person be here's 10 reasons why people are not living in our walls. Very grounded voice of reason character. And then every time that person comes up with a reason why that's not true, that person will just be what was his response?
The only thing it makes me think is that you're stupid. Or it does make me think.
Yeah, he just...
It makes me think you're stupid.
Yeah. He's you're stupid, basically. The person's obviously a very, very smart person. He's he just won't listen to anything that they say. He just shuts them out, even though they're being very reasonable. And then I think it doesn't just stay to the person in the walls. He has multiple conspiracies about my coffee is actually something else. It's Coca-Cola because of X, Y, Z. I don't know. That's how I would do it.
I would like that approach too, because it's sort of hard. I mean, if you're making fun of something, you kind of have to exaggerate it for it to really hit, I think, comedically. And so when you do make it just directly well, someone believes that this pandemic is actually something the government has planned, that's a little too, and I hate the phrase, on the nose. Because that's what we're going through right now. It's hard to make that, it's hard to go absurd with that because it's already absurd. So making it something else. Plus I just I guess, you're making fun of bad human behavior. That's what we're trying to lampoon.
Yeah. You could just have the first truly 3 lines of the sketch be the person, just establish that the person believes in the pandemic. And then you're satirizing that kind of a person and not make it be about that. I think that's a pretty funny way in.
Yeah.
Without making a sketch about it, just to be this is about this sort of tangentially. That's a funny way to do it.
I like it. There it is. Thanks so much for being on the podcast, Meredith.
Thanks for having me. This was so fun.
That was so fun. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. And if you want to know more about Meredith, you can follow her on Twitter at MEREIP. You can also go to her website, meredithpaul.com. You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at There It Is Pod. And follow me on Twitter at JasonFarJokes and on Instagram at JasonFarPics. And you can also subscribe to our comedy lifestyle newsletter. Links to all of this in the bio. And also, listen, things are not back to normal. Keep up the good fight for trans rights and LGBTQ in general rights and Black Lives rights. Keep up the good fight. Until next time, be good to each other.
The music for the theme song was created by Neil Brooks. The rap was written and performed by Nick Acevedo. The logo for There It Is was created by Jeff Prater. The There It Is podcast is produced by Jason Farr.